And finally, we will pass the Save America Act to defend our sacred American elections. Because all voters must have photo ID, and all voters must provide proof of citizenship. Have to do it. We have to do it. And mail-in ballots, we're going to make them so secure you have no idea. If you want to stay home, you can do it, but we got to make them secure because they are crooked as hell. So thank you. Thank you very much. So far, so good. Okay, so that's a big deal. Very proud of it. And I don't know how it can be challenged. You'll probably challenge it. You may find a rogue judge. You get a lot of rogue judges. Very bad people, very bad judges. But that's the only way that can be changed, and hopefully we'll win an appeal if it is, but I don't see how anybody can challenge it. I don't see how they can challenge it.
Hello there, friends. Welcome to our gathering today. I am so glad you stopped by to listen and share a few quiet moments with me. Before we begin, if you enjoy our time together, please hit that like button. Share this story with your loved ones and subscribe to our channel so we can keep sharing these hopeful messages. Now, find a comfortable spot, settle in, and let's get right into today's story.
Well, and I think probably the best path to success is through budget reconciliation. And we can't do everything in budget reconciliation, but we can do parts of it. The one thing about the talking filibuster, and it hasn't been used in something like 100 years, people point to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, but that it actually was done under regular order. They invoked cloture, passed it that way. But you turn control of the floor over to the Democrats. It's not only unlimited debate, it's unlimited amendments. And the Democrats will have a long list of amendments. And so every time they get an amendment, get it considered, gets disposed of, the clock resets. Every Democrat can give 2 hours of speeches, so that's 47, or times 2, 94 hours of speeches. And then every time you have a vote on an amendment, you go back, start all over again. So the Democrats, this is something that they're salivating over the opportunity to have is a talking filibuster. So that isn't the best path in my view. And frankly, I don't think we probably have the votes in the Senate among Republicans even to get on a talking filibuster. But I do think we have a possibility through budget reconciliation to get some of this done.
If you could go either way, are you as leader, are you trying to work with the rest of the Senate to get it done?
We are. And I think, we've had it up now. It was a pending business in the Senate for over 2 weeks, late February, early March. We had 5 votes on it. We voted on photo ID. We voted on photo ID and citizenship to register. We voted on the entire SAVE Act 2 different times. And we also voted on no boys and girls sports. So we've had 5 votes, portions of or all of the Save America Act. The problem we have is we have no Democrats. The Democrats block voted against it, in spite of the fact that there are at least a dozen Democrats, and I have the quotes, who have come out publicly and said they're for photo ID. But when they actually got a chance to put up or shut up on the floor of the Senate, they all voted no.
Let's talk about the radical.
Congratulations to President Trump and his administration in securing a huge victory today for our election security in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court today stayed a lower court injunction that would have prohibited President Trump's executive order issued in March, restricting the use of mail-in ballots, making sure that states would have to follow certain procedures to make sure that anyone voting by mail is in fact a U.S. citizen and that we know who they are. This is a big victory. Now, there are other pieces of litigation involving that and other executive orders. All this goes to the point that while this is a huge victory, and I applaud President Trump and his administration, especially his Department of Justice, from working overtime in trying to protect our election security, Congress has to do its part. This does not take the place of, it cannot replicate the Save America Act. We need the Save America Act, and we need it passed right now. John Thune, I'm calling on you and every other Senate Republican. Let's reconvene the Senate right now, and let's pass the Save America Act. Sure, we don't have 60 votes, but we have a simple majority. And if we reconvene the Senate and announce we're going to debate the Save America Act until it passes, not going home, no recesses, no weekends until it passes, it would pass. It might pass with a couple of changes, but it would pass. Let's get this done now.
Now, Mike, do you think that there is enough time for the administration to implement these regs? Because some mail-in ballots may have already gone out, or they're about to go out. Tell us about that.
I mean, the president is going to move fast. And I would just say this: why are the Democrats so scared to have accountability with our elections? Why are they so scared to make sure that the Postal Service is not committing mail fraud by mailing ballots to illegal aliens and other illegal voters?
It would shock you to know, Mike, by the way, that Ketanji Brown Jackson issued a blistering dissent to this order, essentially saying this is all Kafkaesque and this must be stopped.
Broken. I mean, it's gone. It should have changed over the years, but it did not. Thank goodness President Trump is taking over now and sending people back home, deporting a lot of people that came here should not be here. But if we continue to allow people to come in this country that hate this country, we're going to lose it. And we better wake up and smell the roses. And so that's what we're trying to do. Assimilation Act, we're trying to make sure that if people come here, they come here to assimilate. If they don't, they go home. It's as simple as that. We cannot allow people to come here to change our culture, our Constitution, our laws, and go by the things that they want to go by and do it the way they want to do it. They have to do it the same as all other Americans.
Right. Okay, so Congressman, how do you measure that? How do you enforce that? That someone, I've seen how other countries measure it. I know what they do in Turkey. How do we do it? How do we measure assimilation?
Well, you know, like the senator said, the first thing one of the things we have to do in this process is we have to deport, and then you analyze those folks that are coming into this country. You got to love this country. You have to have something, bring something to the table. Have a job sponsor instead of coming here and getting on welfare. And look, the numbers are unsustainable as they are. This isn't me being prejudiced. This is simple math.
Folks, gather around and listen close. What happened just yesterday in Washington is the kind of news that makes an old man's heart swell with pride and hope for this great land of ours. I am talking about a big decision from the highest court. In our country, the Supreme Court, they made a choice with a 6-3 vote that supports President Donald Trump and his deep wish to keep our elections safe, fair, and honest for everyone. Recently, the president made a bold choice. He signed a special rule to make sure that when people vote by mail, we can track those ballots carefully, just like a very important package. He also wanted to make sure that only true citizens are voting by doing careful checks. It is a simple, good-hearted idea, really. It puts America first, making sure the true voices of the people are heard, loud and clear. Now, the lawmakers in Congress are still working on their own big rules for this, but the president wanted to make sure we were completely ready and secure for the upcoming elections this November. You see, President Trump has been working on this idea for a very long time. He knows what so many of us, regular folks out here in the heartland, have known for years. Our elections have to be as strong as a rock. There should be no room for doubt and no confusion with lost papers or missing votes. Back in the spring, he asked our national safety workers and the mail carriers to team up. He asked them to build careful lists and make sure ballots only go to people who are fully checked and allowed to vote. To me and to millions of families, this is just pure common sense. But as things usually go in Washington, some folks disagreed. A few leaders in different states felt it was happening too fast and tried to hit the brakes. They actually put a pause on the president's rule for a big part of the country. Just when it looked like things might get confusing for the upcoming elections, the Supreme Court stepped in. Late in the day, when the stars were just starting to peek out in the evening sky, those judges in their big marble building looked at the law and said the pause was not needed right now. They said, let the government do its job to keep the voting safe. I can just picture it in my mind. The lights glowing softly in that historic building, delivering a choice that puts the power right back where it belongs, with you, me, and all the American people. One judge, Justice Jackson, respectfully disagreed and wrote down her honest worries about moving too fast. But the main group of judges held firm. To them and to us, this isn't about causing trouble. It is about making things clear and safe. It is about a president working hard to help everyday Americans trust our beautiful system again.
Mr. President, one way or another, we have to get this done. The American people are asking us to act. The president has asked us to act. The only thing standing in the way of this bill passing is the Senate. And it's specifically our slavish devotion to the zombie filibuster. But really, our slavish devotion to the zombie filibuster is not about the zombie filibuster or any kind of filibuster at all. It's slavish devotion to the truncated, predictable, light-duty legislative work week. It is that, coupled with the cloture standard, that has created the modern zombie filibuster mess in which our Democrat colleagues were able to keep the Department of Homeland Security at least partially defunded for months and months out of every year. And now they're wanting to use the same trick to make sure that our elections are not secure. Shame on them. Shame on all of them. Shame on anyone who is trying to do that. And for that matter, Mr. President, now that it's become abundantly clear that we've identified
of money, nearly $1.5 million, and prosecutors say that it all started with a postal worker stealing it from the mail that they're delivering to houses, then sold to one of the organizers running this operation. So let me break it down for you. Now, this prosecutors say that Tristan Vaughn recruited 3 postal carriers to steal checks from their routes: Catherine Kilpatrick, Dracker Alexander, and Malcolm Jobert. They say Alyssa Bryant then worked with Vaughn to buy and resell those stolen checks. And just look at this money right here. Prosecutors tie these 3 checks to 3 postal workers. The biggest one, more than $1.5 million, is tied to Jobert. The indictment says that the checks were then put up for sale on Telegram through a channel called Slips and Chips and shipped to buyers using FedEx. And this is a number right here. Federal prosecutors say it all adds up to nearly $24 million in stolen checks acquired and sold. Now back out here live right now, we are digging into more of these court records, court documents, and the moment I get more information in the next hour, I'll pass it along.
You're president of the Senate. You obviously, there is some procedural things under Article 1, but, you know, overruling the parliamentarian, pushing this vote forward, is there anything you can do to get this done before the midterms?
Yeah, so we've actually looked into this, and you're right. As the president of the Senate under the U.S. Constitution, there are things that we can do. We can take over the Senate chair. I can occupy the chair. We can overrule the parliamentarian. Those things are very possible. But the fundamental issue with that is not the 60 vote threshold, it's the 50 vote threshold. So if, for example, I took over the Senate chair and I overruled the parliamentarian, we would need to sustain 50 senators plus me. Obviously, I would vote the right way. Mm-hmm. We need to sustain 50 senators to support that decision. Now, obviously, most Republicans would support it, but could we get 50? That's the big question. That's something that obviously the president and I and others in the White House have been working on, trying to have this conversation. You know, the fundamental problem, there's a good news, bad news situation here, mm-hmm. which is we have a way better United States Senate today, a way better Senate GOP today than we had 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But you still have some senators who are so committed to these ridiculous parliamentary rules, even though they know the Democrats aren't. And this is what I find so preposterous about this is it's basically you have a few GOP senators who are unilaterally disarming, even though they know that Senate Democrats, whenever the Senate Democrats next take the majority, hopefully 30, 40, 50 years from now, hopefully never, but if they do it 2 years from now or 4 years from now, the Senate Democrats are going to blow up the filibuster. And this is why the president says we have got to just get rid of the filibuster. Then you don't have to worry about the parliamentarian. The problem is not the majority of GOP senators. It's that you've got a few holdouts who just don't want to do that because they're so committed to these archaic rules.
Now let me tell you exactly why this brings such a warm, comforting feeling to my old heart and to millions of families who love this wonderful country so very much. You see, the lawmakers who send to Washington, the Congress, have been trying to pass a big set of rules called the Save America Act. It is a very good, simple plan to make sure only true citizens vote and that mail-in ballots are kept perfectly safe. But as often happens in that big city, some politicians just could not agree. They were dragging their feet, talking in circles, and slowing everything down. President Trump, well, he looked at the calendar. He saw the big autumn elections getting closer and closer, just a few short months away now. He knew he could not just sit in the Oval Office and wait while they argued. So he used his special authority as the president to take action right away to protect our votes. It is a lot like when a father sees a leaky roof right before a big rainstorm. He does not wait around for the whole family to have a long meeting about how to fix it. He just climbs up on the ladder and starts patching those holes to keep his family warm and dry. The president told our national safety departments to start making sure our voter lists are completely true and correct. And with yesterday's big ruling, the Supreme Court gave him a firm nod of approval, saying, yes, you go right ahead. Think about the deep peace of mind this brings to regular, hard-working folks today. As I sit here talking to you, I am thinking about a sweet retired teacher who lives just down the road from me. In years past, she would wait in long lines for hours, only to feel so worried when the counting took days and days. Or think about the young dad in our town working 2 tough jobs to provide for his family. He just wants his little ones to grow up in a country where every single thing is fair and square. For them, this news from the court is like a cool, refreshing breeze on a hot summer day. When the news broke yesterday evening, a hard-working small business owner from the Midwest said it perfectly. He said, "The president never quit on us. He saw the holes in the system and he stepped up to fix them himself." I also heard about a dear grandmother who has voted in every single election since she was a young woman. She had happy tears in her eyes when she heard what the court decided. She said, "It finally feels like the country is listening to people like us. No more open doors for problems." This is what it truly means to put our country and our citizens first. It is not about being angry or arguing. It is about building trust. When families know the rules of the game are clear, fair, and strictly followed, everyone feels safe. People are walking with a little more spring in their step today. They are breathing a whole lot easier, knowing that when they cast their important ballot this fall, it will be counted true, honest, and right. That is a beautifully comforting thing, my friends.
That you have to be an American citizen to register to vote. You have to be showing a photo ID in order to vote. The reason hasn't passed so far is every Democrat votes against it. Every Republican has voted for it. And why haven't the Democrats voted for it?
Not every Republican.
Every Republican in the Senate has voted for the 2 components that I mentioned. And the reason the Democrats don't want it is they've let 10 million illegal immigrants into this country. Yeah. The Democrats want to make it easier for them to vote. And these radicals that are now been nominated, they want to make them citizens and vote. That's why we need to elect more Republicans. We need more Republicans elected this year in November. Every Republican needs to get out and vote because we know what the Democrats will do to the party, to what they're doing with their party, and what they would do to the country is scary. It was bad. We would be less safe. We would have less money in our pockets, and common sense Americans understand overwhelmingly and support the Save America Act and know that
Senator,
with the debt we have, the government is too big. It spends too much. We're not taxed too little. We spend too much.
Yeah, the tax cuts have been good.
And finally, we must pass the Save America Act to defend our sacred American elections. You know what I mean? Gotta do it. You gotta do it, Tim. We have to do it. And to do that, all voters must show voter ID, and all voters must provide, very simply, proof of citizenship. And we will enshrine
We had a victory in the Supreme Court on this subject, but we got to get it done permanently and good. We will enshrine no men and women sports and no transgender mutilization.
Political views are not necessarily relevant to whether you're a qualified voter. Citizenship is relevant to that. I think the bigger problem in what you saw in that video is Minnesota's vouching system, which is something that the Department of Justice has actually been challenging dating back to January of this year when I sent a letter to the Secretary of State over there. I don't think that this procedure is compliant with the Help America Vote Act and potentially other federal civil rights statutes. And so, timing of taking action on these issues is a, litigation decision. And so I can't comment on what may happen with that. But I think that that procedure is definitely highly questionable. But people also need to know that the Civil Rights Division before this Trump administration was effectively going after states and localities that were trying to require voter ID and trying to make it better and more fair to vote. And that needs to change. It has changed under this administration. We actually support that, but eventually Congress is going to need to make very clear in fixing some of these loopholes that states are using. And we have to have only citizens voting in federal elections. That is incredibly important. And what we have learned just in the last few weeks from New Jersey and numerous other jurisdictions, including prosecutions that DOJ has done, there was an indictment today, that non-citizens are canceling out the votes of American citizens.
Unreal.
That is unacceptable for 1 or 1,000, so we're going to stop it during this administration.
Yeah, last thing on that point about illegals winding up on voter rolls.
Getting to this happy day was not an easy path. The president faced many hurdles and loud voices trying to stop him, but he kept pushing forward because he loves this country more than anything. This big choice from the court shows that they truly understand our core values. They know that our borders are important. Our votes are precious, and putting our citizens first is the right thing to do. If we look back to when I was a young boy, elections were simpler and easier to trust. The president is working hard to bring that wonderful trust back. He is simply solving the worries that families have been talking about around their kitchen tables for a long, long time. The good feelings from this decision are already rippling out like a pebble tossed into a calm pond. The good folks who run the elections in our towns can start getting everything perfectly ready now, without any worries hanging over their heads. People everywhere are feeling energized and joyful. I think about the brave veterans who protected our country. They are celebrating this as a way to protect the beautiful freedom they fought for. I even spoke to a sweet young couple who just welcomed their first baby. They told me that seeing the president stand up and win for us inspired them to vote for the very first time. They feel a deep pride in being American, knowing the system is safe and sound. This is not just some fancy law talk. This is about our everyday lives. Down at the local diner this morning, and in the quiet halls of our churches, people are talking about this with bright smiles. I heard a hard-working factory worker who used to worry his vote got lost in the shuffle say he finally feels full of hope. I heard from a wonderful neighbor who came to this country and worked hard to become a citizen the right way. He said he just wants the rules to be fair and honest for everyone. These are the voices of America, and they are finally feeling heard. Checking to make sure voters are citizens is just basic common sense. Keeping track of the mail-in ballots is just a way to protect our precious rights. This is also very important because the big fall elections are just around the corner, like a changing season. Very soon, early voting will begin in many of our hometowns, thanks to this wonderful 6-3 decision. The plans to check the lists and track the ballots can start right up. It is a massive win for everyone. It makes us feel strong, rewards folks who follow the rules, and builds our country up from the roots. One determined leader, working with a court that respects our rules, has opened the door wide for a safe and honest election. We can all stand a little taller today. Putting our country first is not just a saying. It is a beautiful reality that is happening right now. When we protect the vote, We protect our whole American family and watch this country shine bright again. Yesterday's news is proof that when you fight for what is good and right, great things can happen. Keep hoping and believing, my friends. The brightest days are still ahead for our beautiful United States. Well, friends, that brings us to the end of today's story. If this message warmed your heart and brought a smile to your face, please take a quick second to click that like button and share this message with the people you love. And if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button so we can keep sharing these uplifting moments together. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Keep the faith, and I will see you next time.